The sound of artillery fire echoed through the desolate landscape as Dr. Rachel Kim crouched behind a crumbling wall, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. As a leading scientist in the field of biotechnology, she had been recruited by the military to develop a revolutionary new serum that could heal even the most grievous wounds. But as the war dragged on, Rachel began to realize that her work was being used for more sinister purposes. It started with a rumor, whispered in hushed tones by a fellow scientist who had stumbled upon a classified document. The document spoke of a secret project codenamed Erebus, a program that aimed to create a new breed of super soldiers using Rachel's serum. The implications were staggering: an army of invincible warriors, impervious to pain and fear, with no regard for human life. Rachel was horrified, but her curiosity was piqued. She had to know more. As she delved deeper into the mystery, Rachel encountered a web of deceit and corruption that went all the way to the top. She discovered that the military had been experimenting with the serum on unsuspecting soldiers, pushing them to the limits of human endurance. The results were catastrophic. The soldiers were becoming increasingly aggressive, their minds clouded by a haze of madness. Rachel knew she had to act fast, but her ambition and obsession with uncovering the truth drove her to take risks that put her own life in danger. One fateful night, Rachel snuck into the heavily guarded laboratory where the Erebus project was being conducted. She navigated through the dark corridors, avoiding the roving patrols of soldiers who seemed to be watching her every move. As she reached the heart of the lab, she stumbled upon a group of scientists huddled around a makeshift operating table. On the table lay a young soldier, his eyes vacant and unresponsive. Rachel watched in horror as the scientists injected the serum into the soldier's veins, his body convulsing in agony. The leader of the scientists, a cold and calculating man named Dr. Lee, turned to Rachel with a sinister smile. "Welcome, Dr. Kim," he said. "We've been expecting you. You see, we've been using your serum to create a new breed of soldier, one that will stop at nothing to achieve victory." Rachel knew she had to act fast, but as she turned to flee, she was confronted by a group of heavily armed soldiers. They were the product of the Erebus project, their eyes vacant and unresponsive. In a desperate bid to escape, Rachel grabbed a nearby fire extinguisher and sprayed it directly at the soldiers, momentarily blinding them. As she made a run for the door, she felt a searing pain in her side. One of the soldiers had managed to land a lucky shot. Rachel stumbled out into the night, the sound of gunfire and screams echoing behind her. She knew she had to get out of there. But as she looked down at her wound, she realized that she might not make it. As she stumbled through the darkness, Rachel stumbled upon a small bunker, hidden away from the prying eyes of the military. She collapsed onto the floor, her vision blurring. As she looked up, she saw a figure standing over her. It was the young soldier she had seen on the operating table. But something was different. His eyes were no longer vacant, and a glimmer of recognition seemed to flicker in his gaze. "Who are you?" Rachel whispered, her voice barely audible. The soldier looked down at her, his eyes filled with a deep sadness. "I'm the future," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "And you're the one who created me." As Rachel's vision faded to black, she realized that her ambition and obsession had come at a great cost. The cost of her own humanity. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the world would never be the same again.